Hey collectors, welcome to Star Wars Collected. I'm Jonathan. I just got done watching the second episode of the Book of Boba Fett, and wow, did it make a big difference. So if you watched my earlier review of episode 1, you know I was excited for the series, but I wasn't in love with the first episode, and this did a lot for me. So, you know, this time I feel like we spent even more time with the Tusken Raiders, which is sort of a gripe of mine on the first one. I really kind of want to move forward in the timeline. I don't know if it's because of The Mandalorian, but I'm kind of invested more in that timeline. You know, I'm sure there's still a lot more to come, but by the end of this episode, Boba Fett is sort of looking like what he does when we meet him, and you know, somewhat season 1, but also somewhat season 2 of the book of The Mandalorian, where he's got his robe and he's got his own gaffy stick and stuff like that. I love that the Tusken Raiders sort of have their own like armorer, someone that like helps them make their weapons, and that was a really cool thing to see them do. We were actually just in Hawaii, and those gaffy sticks look a lot like some sticks that you'll see that come out of like Samoa and the Polynesian areas. I've also seen some art that looks like it also is somewhat African based, but you know, with all due respect when I say this, I love how they are sort of bringing in you know, some sort of Polynesian cultural type things into the character of Boba Fett. When you listen to the music and stuff like that, it kind of has these Polynesian undertones, and it's really cool how they're using Tamora Morrison's background to sort of fill in Boba Fett's traditions and things like that. I think that's so cool. It reminds me a lot of how you know, when James Bond was first cast, Sean Connery is Scottish, and Ian Fleming didn't particularly think he was a good fit for the role, but then loved him so much in the role that he ended up writing James Bond's backstory to be of Scottish ancestry, which is super cool. So I think that was really neat. I loved seeing Hutts again. I was so hopeful we would see Hutts in this series. And I really wanted to see him in Solo as well, but maybe we'll make Solo 2 happen someday, and we'll get to see him there. So that was a really welcome addition. You know, I love the length of this episode. We got nearly an hour with them this time, which I think is great. The first episode was, I think, about 38 minutes, and for me, that's about the minimum. If you give me anything shorter than that, that's not what I want. So like I said, we spent even more time with the Tusken Raiders this time, and I felt like that was served pretty well. Towards the end, I do kind of wish we had gone back to the current timeline. Just to get a little bit more of that in there, but I felt much more engaged this time than I did the first time. Who doesn't love a good train robbery scene? You know, we just sort of saw one in Solo with some similar tactics, but this one felt different. It felt fresh, and of course, it's such a classic Western thing to do that it's very fitting in this. So let's talk about possible merchandise, possible collectibles. You know, it was cool to see. It definitely makes me want a gaffy stick a whole lot more. I've always kind of wanted a gaffy stick. I need to do sort of like a wall of weapons somewhere where I can put up blasters and things of that nature. So that would be really cool if someone were to make a high quality gaffy stick kind of based off of Boba Fett's particular gaffy stick. That would be neat. The Wookiee, whose name I'm gonna probably butcher. I've read it a million times in the comics, but I can't remember exactly. It's like Black Christensen, something like that. You know, the Wookiee sure looks kind of a hard translation to basic, but that has to be a hot toy. I'm a big Wookiee fan. You'll know if you've watched me build my own Chewbacca. So I would love to see that as a hot toy or something of that nature. They've done a fantastic job with Chewbacca, both the A New Hope version and the Force Awakens versions in the past. They go for a huge premium. I wish I was collecting that scale at the time and would have pulled the trigger on that. So I'd love to see that come to market. You know, they showed us 2 new Hutts. My guess is we don't get those. You know, we've got my main man Jabba here, but you know, he's got a legacy going on. So that would be something that I guess I wouldn't see. And outside of that, we didn't get introduced to a whole lot more characters. For some reason, I thought the Gamorrean guards looked a little bit better this episode. I don't know if we were not getting as many close-ups or just something about them just looked better to me. So I'm warming up to the idea that maybe this look kind of cool in a hot toy. I still think I prefer more the Return of the Jedi look of them personally myself. And you know, also since we sort of stayed with the Tusken Raiders, if we continue to do that, which I would like to see us move beyond some of the long flashbacks. At this point, they're not even so much flashbacks. It's more like the things that are happening in the current timeline are more like flash forwards, because there's so few of them that it's almost reversed. But since we spent so much time with these Tusken Raiders, and since Hot Toys, you know, actually I think I saw someone on Facebook today just had their Tusken Raider shipped from Hot Toy, maybe they will use some of that R&D they've already invested, and maybe they'll give us something like the Chieftain and or that kind of main warrior, who I believe is actually a woman, even though she doesn't wear the traditional, none of these Tusken Raiders seem to wear the traditional woman garb that we've seen before. So I'm warming to the idea that maybe we could see that. You know, we still haven't had an announcement that the official Book of Boba Fett is going to be a thing, so I'll be interested to see if we get that as well. So overall, closing thoughts on this, I think it was a much better episode. I'm fully into it now, and I think we've laid out a lot of his background. I won't be surprised if we still don't end up with a decent amount of you know, flashbacks, if you will, going forward. I would like to see more of the current timeline explored. At least now we've got a little bit of a conflict, a little bit of a friction that we're aware of. And the other thing I would say outside of that was it was good to see the Pikes again. You know, they keep looking a little different. When we see them in the Clone Wars, they look one way. When we see them in Solo, they look you know, similar but different. And then in this version, I would say they looked quite a bit different. You know, seeing a Pike without its mask on was pretty cool to see in live action, but they did look much more like a mask in this one, where I would say in Solo they sort of seemed like a sealed helmet or something like that. You can also see how much more the Pikes really look a lot like fish. They look like an aquatic species or something like that, which maybe kind of explains why, like in Solo, you know, there's that like nastiness dripping off. And it was also cool to see the effects of spice. You know, spice is something that we've always heard about in Star Wars. And of course, I think most of us would say it probably comes kind of influence from Dune, and a lot of Tatooine does. But it was cool to see spice and the effects of spice. I don't know if I needed a lizard up the nose, and I'm not sure if that added a whole lot to it. But it was cool to see that, and then his hallucinations and sort of flashing between him without his armor, with his armor, and seeing the Slave One in action being piloted by Jango. Unfortunately, we haven't seen Jango Fett yet. I would love to see Jango Fett in this. It's a great opportunity. Anytime we can see Kamino, I love seeing Kamino. So those were really cool things, and to see him sort of juxtapositioning the branches sort of going around his body with being in the Sarlacc pit again. That was cool too. So there's a lot of really cool elements I think they brought into this. I felt like the pacing was better in this episode. Even though it was longer, it felt like it was a little bit faster to me. At least I was more engaged throughout. So guys, I am super pumped for the rest of this season. We're 2 episodes in. There's 7 episodes total. So we have 5 more to go if my math doesn't fail me. I am still looking for that super hot collectible to come out of this though. So we'll see how it goes from here on out. I think having the dark Wookiee, the black Wookiee in there, I think that is my first solid, like, oh my gosh, yes, please make that. I think that will do really well. But I'm still looking for that one collectible. So if you guys have already seen something in these first 2 episodes that you would love to see Sideshow or Hot Toys or you know, a Black Series type thing come out of, as far as a helmet or a prop or something of that nature, please throw that down in the comments. Let me hear your thoughts. Was anyone else disappointed that we didn't get to see Muchi when they were bringing up the gate and releasing for the Rancor? I was a little disappointed, but it was still a pretty good gag. So hey guys, thanks for joining me for this really super quick review. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. If you like videos like this, please consider subscribing. We're about to hit 1,000 subscribers, which is super exciting, and I'd love for you guys to be a part of it. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you later.